The scandal surrounding Cardinal Cupich has reached a breaking point. His decision to honor Senator Dick Durbin with a Lifetime Achievement Award has caused outrage, not only among the faithful, but also among many bishops across the United States. What was expected to be a symbolic gesture of recognition has instead become a flashpoint of division, confusion, and anger within the Church. Cardinal Cupich, the Archbishop of Chicago, announced that at a gala event scheduled for November 3rd, he would present Senator Durbin with an award meant to recognize his career and public service. On the surface, such a decision might appear to be a simple acknowledgement of a politician's contribution to civic life. But the reality is much more complex, and the consequences of this choice have revealed the deep fractures within the American Church. Senator Dick Durbin is not a neutral figure in Catholic life. He is a prominent Democratic politician who has supported policies that contradict fundamental teachings of the Church, especially regarding the protection of life. For that reason, he has been publicly denied Holy Communion in his home diocese of Springfield since 2004. That ban was not temporary. It was reaffirmed in 2018, showing clearly that the Church considered his actions incompatible with receiving the Eucharist. For Cardinal Cupich to now honor him with such a prestigious award appears to ignore and even contradict those decisions. This is why the move has sparked so much backlash. It is not simply about giving a politician a medal. It is about the message that such an act sends to Catholics everywhere. When a cardinal of the Church publicly honors someone who has been barred from receiving communion for actions against Church teaching, the faithful are left confused. Does this mean doctrine no longer matters? Does this mean political power and financial support are being placed above the gospel? These are the questions Catholics are now asking. The scandal grows deeper when one examines the financial ties between Senator Durbin and the Archdiocese of Chicago. Durbin has been a powerful figure in Washington, serving on the Senate committee that allocates federal funds. In 2020, when the Archdiocese of Chicago was facing severe financial difficulties, Senator Durbin personally called and promised to help. And help he did. Federal aid packages poured into Chicago in unprecedented amounts. Catholic Charities of Chicago received $8 million, while $77 million came through the Paycheck Protection Program. Nationwide, Catholic Charities as a whole benefited from over $1.4 billion in aid. These are staggering sums of money, and they reveal how deeply intertwined politics and church finances have become. Against this background, Cardinal Cupich's decision to honor Durbin does not appear neutral at all. To many, it looks like a public gesture of gratitude for political and financial favors. It gives the impression that the recognition was influenced not by faith or moral witness, but by economic and political considerations. The planned award was presented as a tribute to Senator Durbin's years of public service and his commitment to civil rights and migration issues. But critics have pointed out that no amount of political service can erase the fact that he has been excluded from communion due to his public stance against church teaching. The recognition, they argue, sends a message of compromise, confusion, and scandal. Within days of the announcement, bishops from across the United States began speaking out. The response was swift, strong, and unusual. Bishop Thomas Paprocki of Springfield warned that the decision risked grave scandal. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco said the move caused great consternation. Bishop James Conley of Lincoln called it deeply disappointing and confusing. Bishop James Wall of Gallup said it created confusion and division. Bishop David Ricken of Green Bay declared it a grave mistake. Bishop Carl Kem of Wichita was blunt, calling the award inappropriate and scandalous. Bishop Michael Olson of Fort Worth warned that it sends the wrong message to the faithful. What makes this backlash remarkable is not just the strength of the words, but the unity of the voices. Bishops from different regions with different backgrounds and priorities have all expressed the same concern. This is rare. Usually, bishops are cautious in criticizing one another publicly, especially when the one being criticized is a cardinal. But in this case, the reaction has been loud, public, and widespread. That reveals just how deeply troubling they find Cardinal Cupich's decision. For many observers, this united front among the bishops signals something important. This is not just about one award or one gala dinner. This is about the credibility of the Church itself. If the faithful see bishops and cardinals acting in contradiction to established church discipline, trust is broken. If people begin to believe that doctrine can be set aside for political connections or financial gain, then the moral authority of the church suffers. Cardinal Cupich, for his part, has not directly responded to the criticisms. His silence speaks volumes. It suggests that he is confident in his decision and is willing to endure the backlash in order to follow his own vision of what the church should emphasize. Cupich has long been known for promoting what he calls a consistent ethic of life, an approach that places various social issues, such as poverty, migration, and the environment, on the same level as abortion and the protection of unborn life. This broader vision is controversial because, in the eyes of many, it dilutes the clarity of Catholic teaching on fundamental issues. To Cupich's critics, honoring Durbin is a perfect example of this problem. By focusing on civil rights and migration, he overlooks the senator's stance on life issues, thereby creating confusion among the faithful. What some see as inclusivity and recognition of broader values, others see as compromise and betrayal. The gala event itself is another layer of controversy. It's being held to raise money for the Archdiocese's ministry to migrants, a cause that is good in itself. But linking this fundraising event to the award for Durbin only reinforces the impression that money and politics are driving the decision. The faithful are left wondering, is the church honoring a man for his virtue or rewarding him for the financial aid he helped secure? The storm has now grown so large that many believe only intervention from Rome can bring clarity. Some bishops and observers have openly called for Pope Francis to step in, or at least for the Holy See to issue a statement. Others even look back to the past and say that what is needed is a strong paternal correction like those given by popes like Leo the Great. They argue that when unity is broken and scandal spreads, only the voice of the Pope can restore clarity and reestablish discipline. This is not merely a debate about pastoral style. It is not simply about differences in emphasis or approach. At its heart, the issue is about credibility. The faithful need to know whether their leaders are guided by the teachings of Christ or by the pressures of politics and money.
Church cannot afford to appear divided on such a fundamental point. The bishops who have spoken out are aware of this. That is why their words have been so strong. They are not attacking Cupich as a person. They are defending the integrity of the Church's witness. To remain silent, they believe, would be to allow confusion and scandal to grow unchecked. At the same time, the faithful themselves are left in a difficult position. Many Catholics already struggle with doubts about whether their leaders truly uphold church teaching. Scandals in the past have eroded trust. Now, seeing a cardinal honor a politician barred from communion while bishops protest loudly, the sense of division grows deeper. Ordinary believers are left asking, who is right? Who is speaking for the true faith of the Church? In this environment, every word and every gesture matters. Cupich's silence, the bishop's protests, the Pope's response, or lack of one, all shape the perception of what the Church stands for. The danger is that the faithful begin to think the Church is more concerned with power, influence, and money than with the gospel. That perception would be devastating to the Church's mission. And so, the scandal continues to unfold. The decision has not yet been reversed. The gala is still scheduled. The award is still planned. But the storm of criticism shows no signs of fading. Instead, it grows louder, spreading across dioceses, across the country, and across the Catholic world. The scale of the backlash cannot be underestimated. Rarely in the history of the American Church have so many bishops spoken out so quickly and with such unity against the decision of one of their brother bishops, let alone a cardinal. This shows how much is at stake. The reaction has made it clear that the faithful are not the only ones confused and concerned. The shepherds themselves, responsible for guiding the flock, are publicly voicing their alarm. Bishop Thomas Pepperocki of Springfield was among the first to raise his voice. His words carried particular weight because Senator Durbin belongs to his diocese. Pepperocki reminded everyone that Durbin's ban from receiving communion was not a private matter nor a hidden decision. It was a public and official declaration made after years of attempts to call the senator back to alignment with church teaching. To now see Durbin not only recognized but honored by a cardinal in another diocese appeared to undermine that earlier decision. Paprocki warned that this risks creating grave scandal, because the faithful might interpret it as the church speaking with two conflicting voices. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco, known for his strong defense of church teaching on life and family, echoed the same concern. He said that the award was a source of great consternation and scandal. His choice of words was deliberate. Scandal, in the language of the church, does not simply mean embarrassment. It means an action that leads others into confusion or sin. To Cordileone, the danger was clear. The faithful could be led to believe that moral principles are negotiable when political relationships are involved. Bishop James Conley of Lincoln, Nebraska, expressed his disappointment just as forcefully. He called the decision deeply confusing and a source of discouragement for Catholics who look to their leaders for clarity. Bishop James Wall of Gallup, New Mexico, warned that the award would only create further division among the faithful. Bishop David Ricken of Green Bay dismissed it outright as a grave mistake. Bishop Carl Kemme of Wichita went even further, calling the award inappropriate and scandalous, leaving no room for doubt about his view. And Bishop Michael Olson of Fort Worth joined them in saying, "The move sends the wrong message to Catholics everywhere." The significance of this united criticism cannot be underestimated. These bishops represent different parts of the country, different backgrounds, and different pastoral styles. Normally, bishops hesitate to speak so openly against a cardinal, given the respect due to his office. Yet here, their concern for the faithful and for the integrity of the church outweighed that hesitation. They spoke as pastors, not as politicians, and their message was clear. This award risks confusing Catholics, undermining church teaching, and causing real harm to the credibility of the church. It is striking that this controversy has drawn in bishops who usually avoid public conflicts. The fact that they felt compelled to speak shows how extraordinary the situation is. It is not common to see bishops united in such a direct and public way, and this unity sends a strong signal. This is not a personal quarrel, but a matter of great importance for the life of the church. When the faithful see their bishops divided, trust suffers. But when they see bishops raising the alarm together, it reveals the depth of the problem. Their concern is not about personalities or preferences. It is about the faithful's need for clarity and about the church's responsibility to speak with one voice on matters of faith and morals. At the center of it all remains the financial connection between Senator Durbin and the Archdiocese of Chicago. This cannot be ignored because it colors how the award is perceived. Durbin is not just a politician with a long career. He is also someone whose influence in Washington brought enormous financial aid to the Archdiocese during a time of great need. In 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic created financial hardship everywhere, federal aid packages helped Catholic institutions across the country. But Chicago benefited in a special way, in part thanks to Durbin's influence. Catholic Charities of Chicago received $8 million. The Archdiocese received $77 million in federal funds through the Paycheck Protection Program. Nationwide, Catholic Charities as a whole received $1.4 billion. These are not small numbers. They represent a lifeline for institutions that might otherwise have struggled to survive. They also reveal how deeply dependent Catholic institutions have become on government funding. In this light, the decision to honor Durbin seems less like a neutral recognition of service and more like a public gesture of gratitude for his role in securing financial support. Critics argue that this reduces the Church's moral witness to a transaction. Instead of being a prophetic voice that challenges society, the Church risks looking like just another institution rewarding its political allies. That perception is dangerous because it erodes the credibility of the Church. If Catholics believe their leaders are willing to overlook serious moral